So we're side by side.
Oh,
JL
cool.
Cauvin,
Perfect.
welcome. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. First of all, congratulations. Your career is more on fire than anybody's on earth right now. And I'm sure that it wasn't your plan to become super famous from this, but you know what? I mean, I'll tell you this, you are giving us all not just laughs, but such incredible gut laughs at a time that's otherwise really and full of anxiety. So thank you. Thank you for the
Oh,
laughs.
yeah, no, it is crazy because I've been doing stand-up for 16 years, and my career last year I didn't get a lot of bookings. I felt like I wouldn't say peaked, because I certainly hadn't peaked, but petered out probably.
Right.
And I left New York. I'm 40 years a New York native, and moved to Jersey, got a full-time job, a pandemic hit. And, and then, of course, like every good entertainment success story, that's when I hit. So it's been awesome.
How did you have you been working on a Trump impression like from even before he was president?
I think around when he announced is probably when and it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make something of this, but most of my impressions aren't in my stand-up, but I did them on YouTube and things like that, and I ended up just getting a few appearances on podcasts and things with it. But yeah. I was always like, oh, but I have such a good one. Why isn't mine breaking out? Clearly, he's the guy right now. Clearly, like there's a market for Trump impressions. And I just needed the collapse of society to finally have it happen.
You manifested a pandemic so that you could get your career off to a better start. Okay.
Yeah, it's real Lex Luthor level genius.
Dude, super Lex Luthor. It's funny because somebody that I just had on this chat show with me, who's a friend of mine named Laura Benanti. Laura Benanti is in the Broadway world, which is not a world that I really know or live in, but I met her through, I did some music for a TV show on NBC like 7 or 8 years ago, and she happened to be in the cast, and so I worked with her. And then when I would mention her name, anybody that was into the Broadway world would go, holy shit, Laura Benanti. She's won Tonys, and she's been in all these big shows, and she's a really respected Broadway actress and performer. But a couple of years ago, she ended up on Colbert's show as Melania, or as you like to probably call her, Melanie.
Or melatonin.
Melatonin. But she now, like, if you don't pay attention to Broadway or anything, like, she's more known for that, and it is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
It just sort of launched her into a whole nother stratosphere in a totally different way.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I laugh. I go, well, now I know Trump's not getting reelected. If my career is and that's fine. People always, I'm happy with him not getting reelected. I'll sacrifice my career. I'm that kind of patriot. But now I know he's got no shot. If my career is any indicator, because I go, no, I'm going to make whatever I can make in 7 months, 9 months, and then, we'll bury it with his presidency, hopefully.
Oh God. Well, what is interesting, not that it's surprising, but if you go because now I follow you. I mean, I became aware of you because of people sending me the clips of you doing his voice a week ago, or whatever. And what's really cool, I'm sure people have told you this, is if you just listen and you don't look, even though when I watch you, it's just beyond brilliant. But if I don't look at you, it's fucking ear good. It's one of the most spot on, every inflection. It's just so, and I have such admiration for mimicry anyway, but it's like, holy shit. But I was going to ask you a question, and I've been in captivity too long.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've always been good at impressions, but that, I think, for a couple of reasons is definitely the best one, but I think it's also because the most practice and the most exposure to the subject, because the media cannot stop covering him.
Right.
And I told people, I said, usually celebrity impressions that I've had are, well, I've seen them in movies. Okay, so I pick up the tics and I kind of sound like the person. But with him, it was almost like you're living with somebody, because if you have the news on at any point, half of it's going to be him every day. So it's like, I'm seeing him 7 days a week,
Right.
especially during the run up to the election, where it was like,
It's not like you need to dial up a Matthew McConaughey movie on YouTube to practice.
right. Oh, let me see if there's any Trump clips on YouTube. Let me do a deep dive so I can study his voice.
Oh, I know what I was going to say is that
Yes.
what's not surprising but interesting is that because when I became aware of you and then I started following you on Twitter, your Twitter feed it's similar to mine when it comes to politics. I mean, we tweet about other stuff, we tweet about lighthearted stuff, but when it comes to politics, we're very like-minded, and you are very critical, and you're pissed off like a lot of Americans are right now, and it's kind of interesting to see your career in terms of this Trump impression just skyrocketing, but at the same time, as a man, as a person, you're like, this is fucked. This is all fucked up.
Yeah, it's and I've had people say, sometimes people on Twitter and YouTube, the only comments, I don't engage, but the only comments I don't really like on my videos are the ones where I go, well, I'm a Trump supporter and I think this is really funny. Like as if sort of showcasing that they're like above it all. And I'm like, I don't think you get it then.
Yeah.
First off. And secondly, I've said to friends, I go, if you voted for Trump in 2016, I don't know your individual circumstances.
Right.
If you lost your job, your house, a relative was sick, you were desperate, I'm not here to say, well, you're obviously also a bad person.
Or even if you had been up to that point a lifelong Republican, and that you're a partisan person, you look, I vote Republican, and I may not be crazy about the particular candidate, but I'm never going to vote for the Democrats, and I'm certainly not going to.
And he elevated through the party. He came through the channels. He didn't come from do a third party kind of disruptor thing. Okay.
I'm with you, man. Back then, I felt the same way. I didn't give people shit about voting for Trump. It was like, that's your choice.
Some people you could, but I said in general, I couldn't say, yes, there are 63 million monsters out there.
Right.
But after you've seen the body of work, the combination of not dog whistle, just racism and incompetence. It's the combination. It's like, he's not some cold, calculating, ruthlessly efficient jerk. Right. He's like a buffoon who also is a racist and a sexist. And it's like, except if your only reason, spite can be a powerful motivator. Like I remember Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, instead of thanking people, he was just like, the greatest guy, just named a high school coach who cut him.
Right.
Right. I understand spite as a motivating factor. Certainly I've had to hold my Twitter hands from some people. It's like, remember when you said I was going to never make it?
Right.
But that can't be your only motivation. Like if making Richard Marx and his lib buddies angry is why you're voting,
right. Yeah,
it can't be it. And yet it does seem to be it.
Yeah.
And that's weird. And that's not something, to quote The Godfather, this I can't forgive.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the work now, and it's like you had your fun, you got your spite vote, but now we see the consequences.
Right, and that's why to me, and I'm much more sarcastic about it when I voice it, certainly on Twitter, but it really comes down to a time now where you either have to surrender to the fact that you've given up critical thinking.
Right. Yeah, I saw that tweet.
I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no more bullshitting about it. Like any of us who have even the slightest sense of decency and common sense, we have to push back against this narrative.
Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is that the Democrats, as much as there is a very sort of strong Bernie contingent, I think the Democrats basically by effectively nominating Biden have sent the message like, look, we even gave you the most palatable candidate. Like we're now giving you an old, genteel, kind-hearted, experienced white man.
Yes.
So now we're saying, come on, like if anybody's still on the fence, like we are giving you the final offer before Armageddon. This is it.
Yeah.
It's crazy though.
On a more lighthearted tip, I did also do a little dive, and I have to also give you huge props for you. I've never seen anybody do a Louis C.K. impression.
Yeah, that was
maybe not the greatest timing, but You know?
Well, that one, see, that was an older video that
Right.
because now that I have an actual audience, I'm like, hey, by the way,
Yeah.
when Trump's done in 9 months, don't forget, I do other things.
Right.
And that was actually made at sort of the height of Louis C.K.'s power before any scandal, like 2014.
Yeah, I went to
When he
see him
was
twice live. He was amazing. He was
right.
really amazing.
And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like, I just was like, I always respected him, but always, like, for instance, comedian wise, like Bill Burr of this sort of last 10 years was more my guy. So I was always not thinking, oh, Louis C.K.'s terrible. I was always like, but why is Louis C.K. the king? Like,
Right.
I'm a Bill Burr person, but it seems like this undisputed championship belt had been
Are
handed to
there
Louis
two
CK.
camps? Are you in the Bill Burr camp or the Louis C.K. camp, or?
No. I mean, I live my life that way, but most people are like, I like both and I will enjoy both. And I'm like, no, my guy.
Can't do that.
Right. But so I just, when I would say that to people, they'll go, oh, no, CK has some good stuff. They'd be like, oh my God, you're a hater. Like, because I'm not going, he's amazing. And I have his children.
Right.
And so then I said, let me make this video where I sort of pick apart his joke style. And that sort of caught fire as, Louis C.K. just telling knock jokes, but in his deep, dark, meandering sort of way.
Who are you working, like, because you know that this is going to run its course. So who are you working? You don't have to do any of it, but like, who are you working on? Do you like to go for more obscure? Not that Trump is obscure at all, but Louis C.K. is a little bit more like not an obvious impression.
Right. I think the problem is because he's so all encompassing and because the impression I got was so good and there was a market for it, I really have focused almost like it's more like a role I'm playing versus just, hey, here's 10 impressions. It was like
people forgot that Alec Baldwin was a fucking actor. Right?
Right. And I mean, he won an Emmy literally for only playing Trump on SNL, like 8 appearances a year, and he won an Emmy. Where like here's one that I was working on like a year or two ago that's really good and in the spirit of sort of obscure. John Bernthal, who plays the Punisher on the Marvel series. He was in The Walking Dead. He's probably one of those guys to the average person, but obviously he's got a nice career.
Right.
And that's like a really good impression. And I keep going, I just want him to get a little bit bigger.
Right. So that
I'm sure he does too, but he's got a nice career. He's doing very well. But if he could just go from that A-, B+ list.
He would help you out.
Maybe. Or he might be, if he's like his characters, he might, hate me for the impression. But hopefully he's a very nice guy. I have no idea.
So I have a question for you. If you're willing to dive in a little bit, I do have one question for you as DT.
Oh, sure.
You ready?
Excuse me.
You've been doing.
Step away for a second. So we're here with power ballad guy, Richard Marx. Richard Marx, love the powerful ballads. I call them powerful ballads.
Oh, do you?
Well, sometimes you call them strong ballads.
That's a phrase though. Power ballad is a phrase that's been around since the 80s.
Well, I know very well actually the expression. It's a good expression, and I know it well. But I like to sometimes say powerful ballads. It's called emphasis. You get kind of like a stronger. It makes people feel like kind of tough.
Tough. Yeah, that's good. Mr. President, I do have to ask a question that no one seems to be asking. You must be aware, because my assumption is that you do like to go online and watch everything you do and say. When you see the compilation clips that are now out there of the way you have your rhetoric about this particular pandemic, how it was going to be down to zero, and go back to work a couple weeks ago and quote,
well, excuse me, eventually it is going to be down to zero. That's a fact. One day it will be zero. That is going to be proven true. It might, whether it's next week or 2032, it's going to be at zero at some point. So we're very right on that.
And what about just a week ago, you saying everybody needs to go to church on Easter Sunday. You want the churches packed on Easter. You think that was a responsible thing to say to the American people?
Well, I think it was a nice thing. It was a very nice thing to say, because you have, it's Easter. It's called Easter. And it's a great time for families. And, as a great Christian myself, it's important They have that, they call it like a, when it's like a fellow has a ship. I think it's a fellowship. They have the fellowship. It's very important, and it's a great feeling. And I want, we won't do it. We made the decision, tough decision. We're not going to do it. But I was saying it would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice?
Which reminds me, because if that was your motivation, I saw there's a very widely viewed video of you doing an interview when you were asked to just quote one Bible passage, one verse from the Bible that's your favorite, or anyone, and you were unable to do so. So if you're
no, it's not. Excuse me. It's not unable. Okay, I don't like that word. It's a very nasty word. It's called not wanting to pick one, because the Bible is so important. You want to kind of treat all the passages equally.
But you couldn't recite one.
Well, if I did, then it would seem like, oh, look, I guess that's the Trump passage, and I didn't want to do that. The Bible, the sales are not so great these days, and I didn't want it to become sort of a controversial thing where, like, now they're going to only sell the Trump verse separately, and then you have tremendous Bible salesmen, patriot Bible salesmen, totally out of work.
I understand. It must be nice to be in this situation that we're all in, however, still having people doing your hair. I mean, for me, I'm all about my hair, obviously, but it's like, it is what it is, because I can't get my hair cut. I can't go out. I can't do, but you have people to do everything for you. It must be nice to keep your hair looking so good.
Well, it's important because obviously, as the president, I'm out there every day talking to the great people. And if they see their president with like the, terrible hair, that it's going to distress them. It's going to upset people. And it's called being the healer in chief. Have you heard of this expression, the healer in chief?
I've not heard that.
During like a crisis, the president has to come in. Everybody made a big deal when Obama sang very poorly, by the way. I think you'd agree, as a great singer. When he went to that church and he sang very poorly. And everybody said, oh, a healer in chief, so great, Obama, we love Obama. Well, my hair is like even better than that. And if they see it messy, it could really distress people. So it's kind of it's a good thing.
So what you're saying is that your hair looks better than Obama sings. Is that what you're saying?
Among the things I'm saying, I would agree with that. I would say that is true.
And you had an opportunity very recently, and you shot down Peter from NBC, the reporter who asked you, like, what do you say to the American people who are scared? And you had this really great opportunity. Didn't you think you had a great opportunity to comfort people, and you took that opportunity and just took a big steaming shit on it by attacking the reporter? Like,
couldn't say it better myself. It was a total misdirection, because the media is the enemy and you've got to keep them on their toes. And I thought it was like a jujitsu move. I used his move against him. And it's the people need to see that their president is tough in a crisis, that he's not going to get these nasty questions from these fake news places and give them what they want. So the American people, I think they know that their leader is tough and strong and with tremendous strength.
Yeah. Okay, I have one last question for you, because I know you're a very busy man. But
although I did write some MAGA-friendly lyrics to some of your songs, I thought.
Did you really? You had time for that?
Well, it's quickly. We did them quickly.
In between golfing.
No, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. They actually today, I was very disappointed. They closed the course that I've been going to, because it's obvious. As you know, do you golf?
No.
Well, okay. Well, I thought you might, but it's a nice sport. And when I golf, it's been great the last week or two because there's nobody there. It's totally empty. So it's like a beautiful thing. And today they finally said, Mr. Sir, Mr. President, sir. They love saying sir.
They call you that, do they?
It's great. It's such respect, respect. And they called me sir, and they said, we have to close the course. And I could have been mad, but I said, okay, you close it. But, between you and me, I'm not the most happy.
I understand. Well, first of all, go ahead with the lyrics. You said you.
Oh, well, I did too, because obviously you're one of the great singers. We can both acknowledge that.
Thank you.
But I see on Twitter, maybe it's to impress the Hollywood people, but you're very aggressive anti-Trump. Okay, so I thought it was nice, by the way, that I'm even on the show. I haven't heard a thank you, but okay. but I rewrote 2. Okay, remember Right Here Waiting? Do you remember that
I
one?
remember that one, yeah.
Okay. Wherever you go, whatever you do, ice will be right here waiting for you.
Interesting.
Whatever it takes, put a kid in a cage, ice will be right here waiting for you. So now you've doubled your fan base. Because now you do the remix, the Trump remix, and all of a sudden the MAGA people go, oh, you know, the original is nice. We got married to it. It's great. But this new one, you know, now we can maybe make another baby to the Kids in the Cages remix. The other one is my favorite, personally. Endless Summer Nights. Do you remember Endless Summer Nights?
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
It's a great song.
Thank you.
Who did that one?
That was me.
Oh, okay. You know, we love it. We love it. Great, great singer. I remember how you loved me. Time was all we had until the day we said goodbye. I remember every square inch of Ivanka's endless thighs.
Oh.
Yeah, you see took it a little different.
Yeah, but don't you think that's a little creepy, dude?
You have sons, right? You have sons?
Yeah, sons.
Well, I have a daughter, and it's a different dynamic. You know, the father-son dynamic, but the father-daughter dynamic, it's a different kind of special relationship. So I thought, you know, I'd write a nice sort of tribute to, because the MAGA people, they love Ivanka. So.
You know, I've never washed my hands more, and now I've never needed a shower more. But
you know, it's important. Use the antibacterial soap.
Yeah. My last question for you is, for those of us, and there are many of us who feel that this particular handling of this particular crisis will be the end of your presidency. Let's just say you last till election day and you lose the election and Joe Biden.
One second. Pence, get the people another $1,200 now. I'm hearing bad things. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. I just had to tell Pence.
That was nice, by the way. We need a lot more than that, but that was nice. That's a good start. If you are defeated in November, will you go peacefully into the good night?
Well, we'll have to see, because obviously you saw how big I had, like the greatest victory ever in 2016. So I don't see that.
You lost the popular vote.
Fake votes and illegal votes might have happened if that happens. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think we're going to have a great election. I've got great people working on it, and I think we'll see what happens. Well, this has been interesting, Mr. President. A great pleasure. A great pleasure. I wouldn't say that, but No, I know you have the very liberal Twitter people that you've got to satisfy, but you seem like a good guy. Dude, that was fucking brilliant. Brilliant. I'm just so happy that I get to bring this to, just that little special, very particular edition of your brilliance. Oh, well, thank you. Dude, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. You seem like such a good guy, and I wish you nothing but continued success. And let's stay in touch. And you absolutely offered me free tickets to your gig when you play, when all this smoke clears, and I will take you up on coming to see you. But I like I said, I will buy my own ticket and I'll buy tickets for friends, because you are a fucking badass. Well, that's really awesome. And this is. I wouldn't say it's a dream come true, because I never thought, hey, one day I might just hang out virtually with Richard Marx, but I'm a huge fan. So this is very unexpectedly awesome. So thank you. I appreciate it. And let's be in touch and continue success. And I can't wait to see what's next for you. Thank you very much. You too. Thanks. Take care. Thanks for spending the time. Absolutely.